Hello, we'll be dealing with the principles in healthcare waste management in this section. I will be talking about the do no harm principle, prioritization of disposable and non-disposable. What is waste minimization? What is the waste minimization hierarchy? And what is life cycle approach? So I will tell you a small story about why this becomes very important. This is a small story about four people, everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. There was a very important job that needed to be done. Everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. But everybody thought that anybody could do it, but nobody realized everybody wouldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. And this is the story of healthcare waste management as well. If we are the producers of healthcare waste, we are the ones who are supposed to take care of its disposal as well. So that brings us to the first principle, do no harm, meaning non-malfeasance, which means that we as healthcare waste producers have a responsibility of segregating waste at the point of generation so that it doesn't cause problems to patients, patient kin, and most importantly, us as healthcare workers. When we are buying equipment in the waste production itself, we can minimize it by choosing non-disposable over disposable. However, they have to be made of durable and reusable materials so that they can be reused at a later point of time. If we are using a lot of disposables, this should have minimal effect on our environment, and these should be handled with utmost care. Next, I'll be talking about something called healthcare waste minimization. That can be done by three important steps. First, green and suitable sustainable procurement. So these are elements, both disposable and non-disposable equipment, which are bought and which are prepared using sustainable technologies, and we buy them to ensure that the sustainability cycle will remain. Second would be effective inventory management. We do not want too much of everything, but we want something of everything. So effective inventory management also becomes very important. Thirdly, we have something called a sustainable disposal, which means that when we are disposing the waste that we produce, that is also done in a very sustainable manner. Next, we come to the 4 R's of healthcare waste management, that is reduce, reuse, recycle, and recover. So these are the 4 R's that you need to remember when we are doing healthcare waste management. So what do we reduce? We reduce the unnecessary and disposable waste use. We reuse whatever we can from the non-disposables, recover metal, recover plastic, and we recycle many of the metal and the plastic elements from this equipment. Last but not the least, we recover from the environment, from the water, what we have lost because of this procedure of waste management. Which comes to our last principle called as healthcare waste management hierarchy. So if you see this, there is a broad base which begins with avoidance and a small base, a small apex called as dispose. So avoiding and reducing the amount of items that we procure, and that we procure more of non-disposables over disposables, can be handled by something called as green procurement. Once this is done, we look at waste minimization by the 3 R's, reduce, recycle, reuse, and recovery. The ones which go through this and still remain are then in the end treatment technologies used to treat and to dispose of safely. However, if you see this, you will see that treating and disposal, what we are discussing today, is the most smallest part of the entire healthcare waste management hierarchy. The most important one is green procurement through avoidance and reduction of use of disposable and more preferred use of non-disposable. So with this, we come to the end of this module with something called as a life cycle approach. Let me brief you about a life cycle approach. So when we produce healthcare waste, there is liquid waste which is produced, there is solid waste which is produced. The liquid waste is then sent to the effluent treatment plant where it is recycled with other recyclable liquid waste. In the rest of the solid waste, we recycle selected materials like metal. We recover and also metals like metal and plastic. The ones which are expired or unused, we return so that we can get we effectively manage the material what we have already purchased. When we segregate at the point of generation, there is segregation into color-coded bins. There are 4 color-coded bins, as you can see: black, blue, yellow, and red. These color-coded bins are used at every ward, at every point of generation. Waste is collected and stored for a small period of time before there is intra-facility transportation, and from the intra-facility transportation, it goes and is collected at the common storage point within the healthcare facility. From here, the treatment facility for a common biomedical treatment facility for biomedical waste carries this waste from the hospital to this center where the large volumes of waste are made into smaller volumes, and the remainder is either disposed in landfill or they are recycled. So last but not the least, let us remember always the 4 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle, recover. The waste management hierarchy, and do not